Tottenham Hotspur were definitely one of the surprise packages of the 23-24 season. And being a Celtic fan, I really enjoyed watching Ange Postecoglou's debut season in the Premier League. They really did put the cat in amongst the pigeons. But the season overall was dogged with drama, whether it be not defending set pieces, whether it be the injury crisis that mounted up and having to play like no centre-backs, having to rely on Eric Dyer and Ben Davis and all sorts of other crazy stuff. They just about got out the season with what I would term it to be probably a resounding success, finishing in the top 5, getting back into European football, and really having their own identity, Ange Ball, back in the Premier League. Whereas over the last couple of managerial stints they had, there was just not much flavour, there was not much spark or invention going around Tottenham. But finally, in this summer transfer window, I know there's been some moves made already, but they have arrived. They have spent over 40 million quid on Archie Gray, the up-and-coming emerging wonderkid from Leeds, and they have had to fight off a lot of interested parties from a lot of big-name clubs to bring his signature in. And it sounds like Archie Gray is a bit of a Celtic fan himself, having cited his love for Celtic being a big reason he's excited to work under Ange Postecolgou. And this is a move that I think is going to really move Tottenham forward in a huge way into being much more of what we'd recognise as an Ange Ball team, because last year we found so many square pegs and round holes that the system didn't completely sing and dance the way it should. And we've seen a lot of the errors and the negative results come as a result of that. But this, for me, is a huge signal of intent of what Tottenham are probably going to do in the remainder, the rest of the transfer window. And it really does signal that I think that Ange Ball finishing in the top 4, the top 5, maybe having an outside shout at being a title contender, is something that we're going to have to see again this year. In the video today, I'm going to be looking at where Archie Gray actually fits into the Tottenham team and what a big difference it does make to the best 11, as well as what business Tottenham still have to be done between now and the end of the transfer window if they're going to be competing in Europe and domestically as well as we've seen them do last year. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this as we cover all the transfers we possibly can throughout the summer, as well as the Euros and everything else in between as we get set for a massive 24-25 season. And get into the comment section in this one and let me know, who do you think is the next signing Tottenham should make, or what's the position that Tottenham really do need to reinforce in this summer window. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, Archie Gray comes in as the 4th most expensive 18-year-old ever, only losing out here to really the Real Madrid cast of Endrick, Rodrigo and Vinicius. And when you see the amount of money that's spent on really high prospects, particularly homegrown kind of wonder kids, especially across European football, this is a huge statement on how much Tottenham believe in this guy and how much that he is going to be a main part of their midfield. I really enjoyed covering Tottenham last year, like I mentioned in the intro, but so many of you Tottenham fans were coming to the channel and saying, Bentancur is one of our best midfielders, and Bentancur is going to come good under Ange, and Bentancur this and Bentancur that. But for me, he's never going to be an Ange signing. And with Maddison doing so well last year, Bissouma being who he was, the next midfielder that was going to come into Tottenham, the next big high-profile midfielder, was going to be taking that spot, was going to be kicking these guys into touch. And if we have a look at the Tottenham team as it sits now, for me, Archie Gray is going to come into this engine room and be the missing piece of the puzzle. I think Sarr, Bissouma and Maddison was the best midfield combination that we've seen last year. But if you see how Gray actually carries himself on the pitch, the qualities, the composure, the technique that he has, he really is the missing kind of Ange Ball midfielder that this dynamic has been missing. Now, I still think there's a huge place in this squad for Sarr. I'm a big fan of him, and I think we'll still see him feature very prominently. But the immobility of Bentancur, Skip and Højbjerg, these things are not going to be a feature of Tottenham Hotspur moving forward. And I think that's further underlined with the signing of Bergvall here, who again, similar to Gray, Tottenham had to fight off some huge names across European football to secure his signing back in January. And with these guys not only profiling as high energy, very technical players with a really high ceiling of potential, but it's also the age and it's the longevity that potentially these transfers have. Because what Ange is looking to do now is build a squad that can really gel together, get that cohesion so that no matter if they're playing in Europe, they're home or away in the league or in the cups or whatever, everyone knows how the Ange Ball system works and they can be, as best placed as possible to win as many matches as possible. Ange is only interested in in winning. He's only interested in attacking front forward football that asks major questions of the opposition. So I think Bergvall was very exciting when it happened in January, but £10 million from a guy from Scandinavia that's never really played in Europe or anything like that. It's a bit of a speculative one. We'll maybe see where he gets minutes. I'm not really too sure where he's going to feature in this. But when you see Gray coming in, it really does underline that this is the style, this is the profile that Ange and Tottenham are after. They're not just going into the market and going, who can we get? Who's available? Who will do as a trade with homegrown players and we'll swap some money around and all that crap. Ange doesn't mess about. He knows who he wants. He knows the profile. He knows what it takes to play in his team. And he doesn't, mess about. He doesn't do second options in that case. So I do feel that the best 11 midfield here is taking a huge upgrade. Now, Bentancur might still come in and might still play because he is a really good footballer. There's no getting away from that. But he's just not got that mobility that we're going to see from Gray playing off of Bissouma in the channels and amongst, in between Bissouma and Maddison here primarily. So I think this is going to be a huge step forward for how we see Tottenham play next year. Now, we do expect Højbjerg is probably going to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the likes of Bentancur and Lo Celso leave as well. That's still kind of, yet to be seen. The jury's still out on that. And that does leave Tottenham still a massive midfield position to be gotten here because Ange doesn't bring guys in to be number two, to be prospects or anything like that. He really does want to make 5 subs in every game. He really wants to have guys coming off the bench that are first team capable. And when he does make the sub or if he decides to start them or whatever, he knows the level isn't going to be any different. It's going to be to the same high level technically and in terms of energy output, blades of grass covered, kilometres ran, whatever. And particularly when Maddison was out, you really did feel that the Tottenham midfield missed that guile, missed that cutting edge, missed that link from defence into attack. And I think that this is going to be the area that he's going to focus on next. Now, there's been 2 players that continuously get linked to Tottenham in this kind of mould. The first one being Eberechi Eze, where I'm not too sure how to think about this because coming into the summer, I thought this would have been the marquee transfer for Tottenham. It felt like there was a gentleman's agreement or something was there where this deal might have happened sooner rather than later. But with Elise now leaving Palace for Bayern Munich and maybe Mark Guy maybe getting sold out as well, Crystal Palace don't have that pressure to sell. The guy's still under contract and Palace have got an exciting kind of project on the go themselves. So I'm not too sure that one happens. But if you have a look at the Chelsea midfield and you have a look at the business they've been doing this summer, it feels like the writing is on the wall that Conor Gallagher has to be sold. And Tottenham have been in amongst this guy in terms of the rumour mills and maybe trying to get an ear into would you sign for us, talking to agents and clubs and all that kind of thing. And Chelsea really do now probably need to sell him. And I think stereotypically, profile-wise, whatever, he is a perfect Ange Ball midfielder. And he then asks major questions because if you've got Gray, you've got Sarr, you've got Bergvall, and it could still be Eze. Don't get me wrong, I'm not writing anything off at this stage, but I'm just going to imagine it's Gallagher. But if you add a guy like Gallagher into this midfield here, you've then got quality two to position across the key areas of midfield. So even if Maddison does come out, you would back the likes of Gallagher. Maybe it's Bergvall if he can develop on there. Maybe it's Gray and you've got Sarr playing in this kind of position. But it just feels that they're better equipped to kind of roll with the punches, to go with the situations that just do occur in football. You get a guy injured for a month, you get somebody suspended for 2 games, you've got 10 games in 14 days or something crazy like that, and the players just can't handle it, they break down. So I do feel that there's another massive midfielder to come into here because the midfield is really the heartbeat, it's the engine room of Ange Ball for being that transitional team from turning defence into attack, to press as ferociously as they do, and to defend like madmen like they do, having Udogie coming in as an inverted fullback, having Pedro Porro really bombing on. They want to have their defenders defending 1v1, 2v2, and it does feel that Jed Spence, his move to Genoa is just broke down. They're going to be trying to shop him out. It feels like Emerson Royale is on the cusp of signing for AC Milan as soon as they can agree a fee. But with Dragusin, Region, I'm not really too sure what I think about him in the Tottenham standings, and Ben Davis have not got quite enough in reserve for defence here. And I kind of marry up with what I said a minute ago with midfield, that Ange doesn't buy second stringers. Dragusin is really trying to get into that team and could be good enough to get into this team. And I think that there will be some more business done in defence to kind of buff up the ranks, as it were, if they can get the likes of Spence and Royale and 1 or 2 other guys kind of sold out, like Højbjerg, maybe even Brian Heel. You know, Solomon's got a big injury. We've got Werner signed on for another loan this year. And really the next, area of concern is probably going to be the centre forward position, because for me, Brennan Johnson kicked on in a massive way last year. He really, really impressed me. And it's hard to imagine him not coming in to being the regular right forward, right winger. Although I'm a big fan of Kulusevski, and I think Ange is a big fan of him as well. Maybe he comes in to compete with Maddison a bit more and maybe relieves a bit of the pressure on another midfield coming in. It's very, very possible. But between the likes of Leeds and Parrott, Werner, who's back on for another loan period, you've got Richarlison and Son. Son's obviously the main man, but the best position for him is probably out in the left. I know a lot of people want to see him through the middle, but it does feel like you get the best of Son when he's got space to run into and he's got a teammate to kind of bounce off of in here. But I think that's going to be, defence, they need some care and attention and some more kind of Bergvall, Archie Gray kind of signings, guys, Dragusin types, high potential, really hungry to come into the team and push to try and get in the first 11, but they're not going to cost 40 million. They're not going to be demanded to play every week. Whereas up front and in attack, they need a guy like this to come in. Now, whether Richarlison would get sold, whether they would loan out Valise and Parrott again, I don't know how that's all going to sit. But in attack, it was so reliant on Son that if he wasn't firing, he was away on international duty and these other things like Tottenham. The big thing that really held them back, I know the defence is something we've spoke about already, but Tottenham, unlike Aston Villa could score 3-4 goals very feasibly, and they did in a lot of fixtures, and Tottenham really struggled to score 2 or more goals last year, and for me that's really what held them back. And some of the draws, some of the losses, is they just never had that complete attacking route to goal kind of ironed out. If maybe Maddison wasn't on it or available, or, you Tottenham fans, all the problems you had last year. You don't need me to spell it back out for you. But they've clearly got the numbers. They've clearly got good quality and depth in attack, which is why I'm just trying to underline this. I think that there's a high level striker, there's a high level attacker option still to come into this Tottenham team. And really, Ange Ball was really exciting last year, but I really think that this Archie Gray signing really does have a huge signal of intent for the level and the uncompromising nature of Ange and his transfer policy and what he wants to see at Tottenham, that I think Tottenham could have one of the biggest increases in output in terms of how good they are and how well they do next year compared to so many other clubs across the league. Some teams I just see them going backwards, and some teams I don't really see them getting much better. And I don't think Tottenham's name of the game, what sees them really move on, is buying 10 guys or something like that. Archie Gray, Bergvall, maybe a defender or two, and a striker. We're maybe talking about 6 signings overall, which, considering Harry Kane still hasn't been replaced from last year and a couple more outgoings that might happen here, that's not that busy of a window, really. But it's about knowing the player, knowing the individual that will come in and really kick on the team. And I think in terms of attacker, it is kind of hard to work out. Is he going to fancy Son back up here? Werner will be the left winger, and then he's going to try and bring in another guy to really compete on that front. The jury's still out. It'll be really interesting to see. But I think Tottenham are set for maybe one of the best transfer windows in the Premier League this summer. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. On screen and now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this, and get into the comment section and let me know what is the area of the pitch that Tottenham really do need to put all their financial muscle into reinforcing and enhancing for the remainder of the summer transfer window, for them to have as good a season as I think they might do. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I will catch you on the next one.